Let me ask you one thing before we go.
Sure.
And I've been posing this question, this theoretical question, all right? Knowing what you know now with Garoppolo and Brady, would you trade that Super Bowl that they got with Brady to have Garoppolo now? No?
No chance.
No?
0.0% chance.
Why
they
not?
made the right decision.
Why not?
Because you don't win that Super Bowl without Brady.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that you never trade a Super Bowl for
anything.
A maybe. Because honestly, what did everyone say after that game? Cut Garoppolo. Get rid of him right now. Garoppolo is the reason they lost, which I think is a little outlandish.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had the ball twice in the fourth quarter. He had the ball 3 times in the fourth quarter with an opportunity to either put the game away or win the game, and he couldn't do it any of the time. So, and look, you can take that any way you want, but the fact is that he blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in his first Super Bowl.
Yeah, people are.
And that's not saying that he's not going to be a very good quarterback, because I think he is a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. But that's concerning. It's just concerning to me when you look at that.
I mean, fair points. Now, if I were the Patriots, if I were a Patriots fan, I think I would trade. I would take that trade back if I could, but not that I would argue against what you say in every way. I think that's a very valid argument.
I just think the problem that I have is this, right? Is that you don't, and this is when they lost to Philadelphia, the hardest part for me was that you just don't know if it's going to happen again.
Yeah, right.
It's so hard to get to and then win a Super Bowl that you just don't know if it's ever going to happen again. So they were there. They had the opportunity. They're playing Nick Foles. It's like, come on. You had an opportunity.
Not only that, but Alshon Jeffrey's touchdown reception in that game in the back of the end zone, that, if that was a regular season game, would have been overturned and not overturned and not touchdown.
Certainly the Corey Clement one, for sure. I don't know about the Jeffrey one, maybe
the ball was moving. That ball was moving.
And maybe you're right.
Those NFL rules, man, that Al River run, don't even get me started on that guy.
But don't even get me started on that. But I think that's the hard thing for me, is that I would never trade a Super Bowl for a maybe. Now, if Jimmy Garoppolo were an idiot and were born like 3 years later and we had him now, it'd be great. I'd say, sure, trade Brady and keep Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was born a few years too early, and so what are you going to do? You had to trade.
And let me put a little contingency on what I said, because I do agree with the spirit of what you say, right? The Super Bowl thing. And like if I was I don't know, let's say the Saints, and that was my one. My only question was, if you're a Patriots fan, you got about 14 out of the last 15 Super Bowl victories. I've lost count. I thought maybe they weren't so special that you're like, I'll trade one for for another run. But
every one of them special.
Every one of them special, like another child.
It is. It's true. And you know what the thing is too is that I've been a fan long enough.
Yeah.
Like I was around in the early '90s when they were 2-14. I remember what it was like before Bill Parcells got here.
Yeah, right.
And I did not say Bill Belichick. I said Bill Parcells.
Mm-hmm.
So
before Bledsoe, all that stuff, right?
Yes, I remember what those times were like when they were moving to St. Louis and everything was in shambles and it was a whole disaster. And so now I don't think it'll ever be back to that level.
No, yeah.
But it doesn't stay this way forever, right? Yeah. And so you just win as many as you possibly can right now. And then if your entire team is gutted because you held on too long, it's like the Celtics, right? The Celtics tried to win with their big three, and they held on probably a few too many years. But they said, look, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We have to try to win
with
this team. And they almost did a few times, and they just couldn't get there. And so it was like then they had to completely rebuild. So the Patriots might have to tear it all down and rebuild, and it might take 10 years to get there. I don't know. But it's worth it because you just don't know when you're going to get there again.
Fair point. And while we were talking about Garoppolo, Garoppolo, that long throw, like people are jumping on Shanahan, and of course, because of the 28-3. Well, look, the 28-3, the comeback, right? And we'll close this episode out pretty quick here, but the 28-3 comeback, Devontae Freeman missed 2 chip blocks that he should have made, but he ran past. And nobody ever mentions that except for me. I always like to pick on this guy because he had an assignment to chip block 2 times, and he ran right past it because he wanted to catch that screen pass 2 times.
Right.
And that and one of those was the sack fumble.
One of them was strip sack. If Tevin Coleman got hurt the play before, if Tevin Coleman doesn't get hurt, he's in the play on that game and he makes the block. And so you're right.
Yep. And then Garoppolo, you talk all the crap you want about Shanahan. He had Kittle open for that first down. Yeah. Next possession, he had Sanders wide open on that post.
Yeah.
Talk all the crap you want about Shanahan, but They're uneducated.
100%. Look, the coaches are the coaches, right?
Yeah.
But I think that it's also about a mindset. And I think when you look back, I look back at the 28-3 game. Patriots are down, 28-9 or whatever, going forward on 4th and 4, and they're losing by 19 points. And Matt Ryan's on the sideline like, oh my God, huge play. And it's like, yeah, it's a big play, Matt, but like you're up by 19, buddy. Like, what the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? And so I just think they were so nervous. And I think the same thing happened to the 49ers. And you just wonder if some of that is a mindset that's coming from the coach. You know? So, and look, I obviously he's a great coach, but you don't know if he can get over that hump. But then once he does it, then he's done it, and then no one will say it ever again. That's one of those things.
Did you watch? Did you ever watch The Office when it was on?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I'm familiar, but not,
So, like, I watched them mic'd up after the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the 49ers, and Shanahan was wearing a microphone, and every time he cut away to Shanahan reminded me of Toby Flenderson, the HR rep from The Office. So if you didn't watch, I mean, it might not resonate, but he's just like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's just a little weird. But I'm a believer in Shanahan. I am.
Right. So.
All right. Well, once again, everybody, Pat's Pulpit. The podcast, Pat's Pulpit podcast. So Pat Lane writes for the Pats Pulpit podcast, and then writes for the Pats Pulpit. Also hosts the Patriot Nation podcast. Pat, hey man, like I thought I told you it was going to be like 10 minutes. Ended up talking for a half hour. That's what happens.
I don't mind talking. I'll talk Patriots anytime.
Yeah, I know, man. So I appreciate you having on and breaking everything down. And this will be out on YouTube. And check out Pat once again, your Twitter handle for everybody out there.
So it's at @plane_Pats. And if you want Pat's content, look, I mean, you were talking about the podcast. Really simple. You go to iTunes, type in Pat's Pulpit, and it will come up. And what you get is a show every day. And it's not always me, but you get a show every single day. What we're trying to do is we're trying to replace sports talk radio. You get an hour of Patriots content every single day. We're not hot take artists. We're not this and that. But we do some fun different exercises. We have some actual quality Patriots talk on there every single day for you. So if you're into Patriot stuff, go on iTunes and search for Pat's Pulpit, and we'll be there for you.
I love that. Replace crap sports talk radio. I love it.
Yep.
I love the mission. So, all right. Hey, man, once again, thanks again. And everybody out there listening, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go out, be good.